Good morning, everyone. It is week 8. Next week is the last week of our quarter, and we have some great reading and writing projects that we're going to be finishing up this term together with. So, two big to-dos, and there are little things to do along the way, but the focus of today's lesson is making sure that we all understand how we can be super successful and enjoy working on these two big projects. So our book report is due this Friday, and you're going to have lots of opportunities to connect with me if you need extra support with finishing this up. And just a gentle reminder that we're adding minutes to the reading log and then looking to Fuel Ed for some quick little kind of one or two question easy quizzes to demonstrate that you're reading your book. And then the second thing is reflecting and assessing your draft 2, which you all finished last week. If you're a little bit behind, that's okay. You just keep trucking. And once you've submitted that draft 2 to me, you're going to jump into a story arc, which is going to look very familiar, and a rubric, which is also going to look very familiar. And a reminder that our final copy of our creative writing story that we're super proud of and we've worked really hard to polish is due next Friday, November 6th. So I decided today to take some time to look at the document that I'm emailing home and posting on our class announcements. I realized that there's been a little bit too much asking you to skip, and so I apologize for that. Week 7, Language Arts 7, week 8, we are book reporting, we are creative writing, we are reflecting and polishing. So our student to-do list, the first to-do is our choice novel book report. And you can click right here on this link to get a copy of that presentation. I gave that presentation week 6. And if you want to rewatch that presentation, you can float down to this link that says in resources, past weekly agendas and resources. Click on week 6 and you can hear me talk about the book report all over again. Next, we're going to reread our draft 2, and I would really recommend doing this with someone at home or connecting with a friend. You're going to complete the story arc, and there's a link here to do that. And the story arc is the exact same thing that we worked with 2 weeks ago when we watched a show. And then completing the rubric again. So looking at your writing for specific things and then setting a goal for how you'll tweak things or polish things for your final draft. Again, the final draft is due Friday, November 6th. I really encourage you to attend all Class Connects, especially on Tuesday, and then a reminder that there's an optional sign up for one-on-one workshopping with me. So, if we look at, this is a suggested pacing guide. We're together right now in our whole group at 10:30. I'd suggest that tonight or later this afternoon, you are reading and working on your book report. And I'd also suggest that you're completing the story arc for draft 2. Tomorrow, small groups are going to be a little bit different. For language arts, we have always just had open small groups and you opt in. Tomorrow, I'm going to try and actually just see a few of you at a time. And so I have invited Wood students for different blocks of time at 9:30, 10, and 10:30, Athey Creek students at 11, and Rosemont students at 11:30. And Rosemont students, I also have you in homeroom, so we'll be talking some about language arts in homeroom on Tuesday because we have that time together. Everybody, please check your Class Connect schedule to know what group I signed you up for if you go to Wood Middle School, if that's the school that you're registered through. Then tomorrow night, I would be reading and working on your book report, and then rereading your draft 2 and completing the rubric, which we'll look at again. Optional signups for one-on-one. These are 15-minute chunks of time that you and I can spend together. So if you have a question, if you are feeling a little bit behind, if something is feeling hard or difficult, if you just want to celebrate, if you feel so excited about your story and you just want 15 minutes to read it with me and talk about how much you've improved or what great writing you're doing, this is just 15 minutes one-on-one with me, whatever you need in that time. Again, recommendations to be reading and working on book reports both Wednesday and Thursday, and turning that in by sharing the Google Doc with me on Friday, or that for most of you is probably going to be a Google slide. Submitting more time to your reading log, and that should just be shared with me. We're just adding to that. And then on Friday, we're also going to want to be finished with our story arc, reflecting on our story arc of our own writing, and then the rubric for draft 2. So hopefully you're seeing yourself make some improvement on your rubrics. And then a third reminder that next week we're going to turn in our creative writing assignments. So here are links to your choice reading book report. I just include this slide again. I've been including it every week so that it's easy for you to get to the template. It's easy for you to get a copy of your reading log if you haven't started it yet. A review of our writing targets. We've been talking all term about showing, not telling, with dialogue and blocking. We have talked about dialogue, letting your audience hear your characters speak, and blocking is letting your audience know what your characters are doing while they're speaking. This is the rubric, and this says week 8 because you filled this out last week before you submitted, before you went back to write draft 2. So look back at draft 2 with fresh eyes. Assess your story based on dialogue and blocking, and then assess your story and your story arc, the rising action and conflict, the climax, and the resolution of your plot. And then look forward. So set a goal here for yourself as you jump into writing for your final draft this week. I can see I have a typo that I forgot to delete this column, story number 1 and story number 2. So I will do that before this document reaches you. But because I'm in the middle of taping myself, I'm not going to edit that this moment. All right, and a review of target number 2. So a story arc that rises and resolves. I'll talk about that in a second. If you are getting 4s out of 4s on showing, not telling with dialogue and blocking, and a story arc that rises and resolves in an excellent way, then you can push yourself to have attention grabbing lead sentences in your paragraphs. Push yourself to find a few moments that you can explode the moment with detail. Bring in sensory hearing, sounds, smells, and bring in descriptive detail. All right, your story arc. So here it is again. We used this document when we looked at a show 2 weeks ago, and now you're going to use it with your draft 2. As you fill it out, it is okay if there are missing pieces. Then you're going to brainstorm, and you're just going to brainstorm right on this document as well. So you might notice like, oh my gosh, I don't really have that much conflict. My story arc is not an arc yet. I have a story flat. It's not super interesting yet because there's no action. And so you can brainstorm right here, different ways. And remember, bring in a peer or a family member or somebody at home to help you brainstorm if you need that. It's hard to be writing in isolation all the time. And also know that in small groups, we'll have time to say, hey, I'm having this problem with my story. Does anybody have any ideas? Brainstorm ideas for your climax, and then make sure the most advanced writing always is tying up loose ends. And there's resolution, there's a conclusion, there's a takeaway. A reminder of what our guest author last week, Kendall Sand, said. She said, when you think about the end of your story, think about the feeling that you want your audience to have. Do you want them to feel disappointed? Do you want them to feel scared? Do you want them to feel good, happy? How do you want them to feel? And make sure that you're taking care of that as you wrap your story up. Major assignments, just one more time, that our book report is a big assignment, and that is due this Friday, October 30th. And our awesome final story is due next Friday, November 6th. Right here, you can click to see all of our weekly agendas. This will all be emailed home to you. And you guys just keep up the good work. It is really fun working together. There are so many opportunities to connect with me and with your peers this week. So make sure that you're opting in And I just really hope that everybody enjoys reading and writing this week.